The doctor said they'd never seen a colon blockage so large in somebody so young, and I would need to be on medication the rest of my life if I survived. Hi everyone, I'm Ellen Jaffe Jones, the Veg Coach, and I want to share with you today how a vegan diet saved my life and prevented me from dying from a very deadly colon blockage. So much so that when I was rushed to the emergency room in front of witnesses and everybody in the bathroom at the television station in St. Louis where I worked, the doctor said they'd never seen a colon blockage so large in somebody so young, and I would need to be on medication the rest of my life if I survived. I have never had such intense pain. I had natural childbirth 3 times, and I'm telling you, that was a piece of cake compared to this intense pain. First of all, I was incredibly embarrassed. I was stuck in the bathroom, and finally at the 2-hour mark, somebody came in and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." My researcher was the one who checked in on me, and my producer, a guy, got me out to the car and drove me 10 minutes to the hospital, where I was just doubled over in pain. I had no idea that really what I was suffering from was not a protein deficiency, which is what so many people worry that vegans are going to die of, but I was suffering like most Americans and most people who eat the standard American diet, the SAD diet, of a fiber deficiency. And we're now finally, doctors are starting to talk about the microbiome and gut flora. And what that means is the little microbes and bacteriums that are running around in your colon are supposed to do the job of digesting. And I had no clue that things were so out of whack. Some of the hero vegan doctors that I'd started reading about, Dr. John McDougall, Dr. Neil Barnard, they were starting to talk about the high fiber diet, a vegan diet, a very healthy vegan diet that involved multiple servings a day of beans, grains, and greens, how this could just make such a difference. And I had no idea. And finally, when I got out of the hospital, I thought, I am too young to be on any kind of medication the rest of my life. As the youngest in my family, the youngest of 3 daughters, I had seen what a lifetime of heart disease and diabetes and arthritis had done to my family members. And it was the same year my sister had breast cancer for the 2nd time. She would go on to have it 3 times before she finally died a few years ago. But even though the chemo and the radiation helped her, I suppose, survive because we had so much cancer in our family. We were part of the breast cancer gene studies, the BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene studies. Her quality of life suffered intensely. And because my sisters were 9 and 11 years older than me, I had a lifetime to figure out what I didn't want to happen to me. So as a TV investigative reporter, figuring out the truth about food became the investigative reporting job of my life. And I just really delved into it, as I think you should. And the most important thing to understand as I write in, this is my first book that came out, there's no money in broccoli. And when you understand that, you have to be your own investigative reporter to figure out the truth about food. And what I didn't know at the time is when you are eating a diet full of fiber, then and drinking enough fluids, namely water, it's kind of like the Roto-Rooter guy or gal coming into your colon and cleaning things out. At one point I had a barium enema, and I do not recommend this for anybody. Again, because I was cramping up, they thought maybe more serious problems were involved. And it turns out through this procedure, they figured out I have an extra foot of colon because I was so chronically constipated as a child. My mom would call the pediatrician back in the day when they would make house calls. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that. But, they would come and feel my stomach and I'd be in all this pain, and my mom was sure I had appendicitis. And even though that can be the result of not having enough fiber, I didn't have that condition, but I was just always in this much pain, and my belly was so distended. Some of my grade school classmates would come up to me and go, "Oh, are you having a baby?" I mean, in elementary school. And it's because my colon was so expanded and distended, and I was in all this discomfort. Little did I know, once I changed my diet, things would just be so different. In cultures of the world where they eat a high fiber diet all the time without even thinking about it. And you can read about this in the first books that I read. These books are still out there, by Dennis Burkitt. He wrote about different cultures in Africa where they defecate, have a bowel movement, let's be honest, talk about these terms, 3 times a day. I was lucky if I had one 3 times a week, and it was always excruciating. And if you have a lifetime of that, you can develop bleeding hemorrhoids, fissures in the rectum where it's just so painful that it kind of tears your tissue apart. And I'm being really graphic here because that's where I was headed. And it often happens to people who don't get this taken care of. So the combination of drinking enough fluids and enough fiber, it restores your gut biome, your gut flora, and all of a sudden you feel so light. And it's one of the reasons I've been able to run so much, 242 5K or longer age group awards, not just races that I've participated in. That's what's behind me. And just this week, back from the National Senior Games, the local paper chose me as Athlete of the Week for the 3rd time. Because at 70, there just aren't a lot of people like me running around. And this is so simple. Really, you can buy mixed beans and soups like this that are already pre-mixed, or you can even buy beans in a can, or my favorite way to make them is from scratch. And people go, "Oh, you gotta take time to cook." And I go if you think this is time consuming, you don't have time for cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, which all can be either moderated or reversed, or dare I use the word cured, on a healthful Whole Foods vegan diet. Now, I don't mean you got to shop at Whole Foods. In fact, you can get just products like this, all different kinds of beans, at big box stores. And people say, "Well, are you recommending shopping at Walmart?" And I go, if you are already below the poverty level of $24,000 a year for a family of 4, you're already shopping at Walmart. And it doesn't have to be rocket science. It's just eating very simply, almost like a pauper. I mean, some of my favorite recipes in here are the Royal Stir Fry. It's basically just beans and whole grains, maybe brown rice, quinoa, whatever your favorite whole grain is. I love millet. It's bright yellow, so it looks like there's butter on it when there isn't, shouldn't be. And then just plopping whatever fresh vegetables you might have on hand, or you can pick up at the grocery store. Beans and greens stir fry. You don't even have to add a whole grain unless you want to. You can use canned black beans and just spices that you have around, like cumin, onion flakes. Having spices like that, you don't have to go out and buy the whole onion, so it's very cheap that way. And then adding greens is so important, like collard greens or kale or mustard greens, things like that, just to give you all the protein and calcium and energy that you need to do the kinds of things I've been doing for 42 years. I also have just an entire chapter, not only on salads, but salad dressings, because it's really important that you make, as Mary Poppins would say, the medicine go down. So salad dressings kind of flavor up the greens and make it easier to eat more salads and greens that are healthy for you on a daily basis, and you will not die of a protein deficiency, promise. Here are some tips that will help to prevent getting a colon blockage. First of all, in addition to the fiber that you're going to find in beans and greens, and just think roughage, it's all good for you, and then drinking water to help it move along. Make sure you're getting off the couch and getting some form of exercise, even if it's just a 20-minute walk every day. It's really important that you just don't let all that food sit in your gut and putrefy and rot without some extra movement on your part to get things moving down below. All right, if you have liked this, please don't forget to like it down below and subscribe and ask me any question you want. Know that I'm a certified personal trainer, certified running coach, and I'm happy to tackle your most difficult obstacle in going vegan or just finding an exercise program that works for you.